holding on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me.
From Pocono Raceway, the Jack Dowel Simulators and eSports iRacing.com Truck Series has moved its way into the beautiful mountains of the Keystone State. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Long Pond, Pennsylvania, where our truck racers are going to try and tame the Tricky Triangle. Last night in its Xfinity Series action, we saw 8 different leaders and 13 lead changes. However, after the dust settled, despite his ongoing injury on his throttle foot, Damascus, Virginia's very own Joseph Lester landed in victory lane. Now tonight, as we turn the page to the Truck Series, this season has been all about Channing Ballou and the 7 wins he has posted this season. He holds a 117-point lead over Canada's Gabriel Lafreniere, but after missing last week at New Hampshire, he's got to really work to widen that gap again in our points standings. I'm Dave Riedel here in the broadcast booth, and I'd like to thank you for making SRM a part of your evening, because I'll be with you every step of the way, from the green flag to the checkered flag, right here on Sim Racing Media. And folks, as always, glad to have you with us tonight here in the broadcast booth. Qualifying underway, taking a look right now at Brandon Minto, who is on his opening lap. Brandon getting a little loose as he's trying to clean some of that debris off the tires there of the Little Caesars Chevrolet Silverado. Taking a look through our field tonight, I do see Channing Ballou having made a return here to our ranks as Joseph Lester has gone purple in his first lap with a 54.22 second lap. Jeff Carson going in P2 right now as he is out here in his second lap. A lot going on here at Pocono Raceway. You know, here's the thing. Last night in the Xfinity Series, we had some great racing going on. And I mean, you know, Channing Ballou sitting atop the pile in the point standings. You know, you look at the 4 people that are behind him in the top 5, and he is the only American. I mean, you know, the iRacing.com servers know no boundaries, if you think about it, because we've got 3 Canadians and a gentleman from Buenos Aires, and in fact, we're going to be pulling those point standings up right now. Give me just 1 second here to see if I can't get those standings here on my screen. Channing Ballou joined in the top 5 by Gabriel Lafreniere, Claude Ferlin, and Sylvain Joly, as well as Eugenio Alonso. So 3 Canadians and an Argentinian in our top 5, along with Pensacola, Florida's Channing Ballou. As we're going to take a look right now, it looks like Stoney Benfield has put it back onto pit road after going 6th fastest. We see Brandon Minto here yet again on the second of his qualifying lap. Looks like Ron Fitting in the number 3 Silverado from Sumter, South Carolina. He's got himself all wound up here. Alexander Gangler in the 8 machine has decided to restart that lap, so things not going to go well for him as he has already qualified 14th on the timing line. Bennett Allen, who finished on the podium last night in Xfinity Series action out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, in the JCTV Chevrolet Silverado, finishing up that second lap. We'll see where he goes here. And it looks like Bennett that time goes 3rd fastest on the timing tower. Ron Fitting finishing 14th after his, and now Dan Morgan in the number 72 out of Dubuque with that trading paints on the bed of that pickup truck. A little bit more advanced than a regular tonneau cover, that's for sure. Looks like Dan Morgan coming out of turn number 3 nearly rubs the wall. He's got all kinds of momentum. Finishing this first lap, he suddenly goes 14th fastest, bumping Gangler and Fitting down to 15th and 16th. Still many drivers not going out to qualify tonight. Looks like as of right now, we're going to have about 10 more, or about 4 more drivers than we had last night. 10 drivers so far not having gone out to qualify this evening, including points leader Channing Ballou, who is now out on his warm-up lap. But last night, just 22 drivers taking the green flag in the Xfinity Series. One of our smallest fields of the season for a non-road course. Of course, road courses, for lack of a better term, sometimes they scare folks, and quite frankly, I don't blame them at all. Back during my driving days on a road course, I was suddenly sick, busy, or out of town. As Dan Morgan brings it back around here to complete that second lap, we're going to see where he finishes on the timing tower, and he stays at 14th position. So fastest lap for him, a 55.2, so nearly 1 second slower than current pole sitter Joseph Lester. Going to see if we can get a hold of the young man from Damascus, Virginia. And go figure, I can't find Joseph in the in the Discord channel. Of course, usually I can find him. Last night, he didn't drop in until the end of stage number 2, and of course, he had a different pit strategy than many of our other drivers as we take a look, speaking of other drivers, at Tony Burt. Bear with me, folks, as all of a sudden nothing wants to cooperate here. All of a sudden, everything wanted to open on that primary monitor that, of course, you folks are watching. Tony Burt doing 12th fastest on the first lap here, about halfway through lap number 2 as he comes across the tunnel turn. Of course, Pocono Raceway, very interesting, as we're going to take a quick look here from our blink camera once again. 3 very distinct corners. You can see right there toward the right side of your screen, that's turn 2, the tunnel turn. Of course, if you look real close, you can actually see the tunnels where the equipment is brought in and out of the racetrack. And just between there and the turn on your left, that's turn 3. Nearly flat is turn 3. But you can see right between those two, that's the racetrack office. And, of course, lots of camping here in the Pocono Mountains, just outside of, well, just between Allentown and Scranton, Pennsylvania, nestled here in northeastern Pennsylvania, right off of Interstate 476. But that tunnel turn, always very treacherous. We're going to see a lot of folks, especially on those cold tires, wind up maybe oversteering turn 1. But we can take a look right now at our current track conditions. 79 degrees outdoor ambient air temperature. The temperature on the track, though, 105 degrees. So right now during qualifying, it is loose and it is fast, that's for sure. We're going to be taking a look at that once we get through. Once we get through the warm-up segment here, as qualifying about to end in about 15 seconds, but that track temperature we should start to see cool off in a little bit. Looks like the only drivers who haven't come out to qualify yet, Nicholas Breidenbach, Rich Jett, Joe Stafford, Steve Herring, John Wilco, Timothy Cook, and a couple of others. So we're going to see those things change. In fact, while they get warmed up down there on the track, we're going to pull up those qualifying results. Of course, we'll go over them once we get gridded up, but we'll take a look here. Channing Ballou going to lead us off on the pole. Joseph Lester going to sit outside pole, so not much different for starting position for Lester from last night. Jeremy Parrish going to be starting in 3rd position, Bennett Allen in 4th, Sylvain Jolie and Jeff Carson in 5th and 6th. Eugenio Alonso all the way down there through the faster pastor, Stoney Benfield in 10th. Chris Claude, the chief cook and bottle washer of the Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series, going to be starting on the outside of row number 6. Tony Burt, of course, chief cook and bottle washer of A Lot Cleaner Property Management and Maintenance, proud sponsors of Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series Racing. Gabrielle Lafreniere and Sean Kelly in 14th and 15th, with Dan Morgan and Ron Fitting in 16th and 17th. Alexander Gangler driving the number 8 Mountain Dew throwback machine, going to be starting in 18th. As we think we can get a quick peek here at Alexander if he's out on track. There he is. Matt Metler, of course, my teammate here at Sim Racing Media, going to be starting in 19th. And Philadelphia, Pennsylvania's very own Joe Stafford making his return now to our family of racing series from SNN. Of course, Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series action always available right here on Sim Racing Media. You can join Tony Trapasso and Matt Metler every Sunday night in the broadcast booth on the call. Interesting story of the night so far going to be John Wilco starting 23rd, and this is absolutely a home track race as he is from McAdoo, Pennsylvania. In fact, let's see if he's out here right now. No, he's not. But John Wilco starting 23rd, about 25 minutes away from the racetrack. You'll have to forgive me, folks. I've been dealing with some real-life work things going on right now, so, of course, when that phone rings, I got to answer, that's for sure. Taking a look right now, you'll have to forgive me, folks. It seems like everything is going to hell in a handbasket all at once here in the real world. As we're going to see if we can get a hold of Joseph. There he is. Hey, Joseph, it's Dave up in the broadcast booth. You got me?
I got you, buddy.
Hey, man, listen, great run last night as you brought home the checkered flag. What are you thinking tonight as, of course, here we are headed into another one of your wheelhouses?
I think it's going to be a good race for me. I love Pocono, as we saw last night. The car handles really good, better than it did last night. The Channing's is always so hard to beat. But hey, he's on our team now.
Yeah, you know, you've definitely got an uphill battle here in the truck series. Of course, you know, trying to do battle with Channing Ballou. But, you know, are you going to think about using maybe some of that same strategy that you did last night to keep it up front?
Well, it's a little bit different tonight since I'm actually 9 points out of 20th place in points. And if I don't make that up, then I won't be able to make the playoffs. So even though I got the win, you still got to be top 20 in points. So we got to do a little bit of points racing, hopefully get enough points in stage 1 where I can pull down stage 2.
All right, man. Well, listen, good luck tonight as you're about 5 seconds from grid time. So good luck, and maybe we'll see you here at the end of one of these stages, perhaps in victory lane once again.
Yeah, I hope so, buddy.
And we'll get a hold of our points leader, Channing Ballou, in just a few moments. But right now, drivers gearing up. In fact, once we get through our starting lineup, we will absolutely be getting a hold of Channing Ballou. And getting started on that lineup here in the 88 machine on the front row is Mr. Channing Ballou out of Pensacola, Florida. He's going to be starting on our pole, sitting outside pole on the front row. With him is the Boy King from Damascus, Virginia, Mr. Joseph Lester, who we just heard from. Jeremy Paris and Bennett Allen make up row number 2. Sylvain Jolie and Cross Junction, Virginia's very own Jeff Carson make up row number 3. Row number 4 made up of Eugenio Alonso and Brandon Minto, with Aaron Mack and the faster pastor, Stoney Benfield, going to be in row number 5, rounding out the starting top 10. Jeff O'Rourke and Chris Claude come in here on row number 6, with Tony Burt and Gabrielle Lafreniere in row number 7. Row number 8 comprised of Sean Kelly and Dan Morgan, with row number 9 made up of Ron Fitting and Alexander Gangler. The pride of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Mr. Joe Stafford, going to be right here on the outside of row number 9, with row 10 made up of Rich Jett and Steve Herring. Timothy Cook and Nicholas Breidenbach going to be joining each other in row number 11, with Matt Mackin in 23rd. John Wilco going to be starting from the pits, as well as Alexander Gangler And Matt Metler yet to get in the race truck tonight here at Pocono Raceway. Of course, we do want to take a moment here and see if we can get a hold of Channing Ballou before they go green flag racing. Hey, Channing, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me? Hey, Channing, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me? Unfortunately, I do not. I don't hear Channing, so we won't be able to hear from him before the green flag drops. Going to be a long night tonight. 60 laps here at Pocono. It's going to be a total of 60 laps, with lap 15 going to be the end of stage number 1. Stage 2 going to end at the conclusion of lap number 30. 5 total sets of tires. They're going to be laying 4, so plenty of tires for these drivers as they head down the backstretch here at Pocono. As we come into turn 3, there is no turn 4. So, folks, you know what time it is. Here they come. Here they come. Ladies and gentlemen, grab some popcorn, call a friend, and settle in. Here they come. Channing Ballou leading them out of turn 3. The iRacing.com pace car makes that hard left turn. The man in the stand has the green flag in his hand, and we are underway at Pocono. With that, we have a good start to our race as Joseph Lester has hopped out to the lead. Channing Ballou already shuffled back into 3rd position. It looks like he's going to let Bennett Allen and Joseph Lester lead the way for a little bit here, maybe using them as fuel pigs, if you will, as we're already on lap number 2. A good, clean start to the race, nearly 3 wide back here behind them. Looks like looks like Bennett Allen all but hooked up to the rear bumper of the 84 driven by Joseph Lester, as they are stuck like glue right now. Aaron Mack right now chasing down Sylvain Joly, he is just going to be pestering him all night long back here in this battle for 7th and 8th. Side by side, though, right behind him is Joe Stafford trying to hold the high line over top of the faster pastor, Stoney Benfield. As Benfield now falls into 9th and 11th position, ceding away 10th position to Stafford, who is already up 10 spots from where he had begun back in 20th. So obviously that strategy to not qualify and come out here a little bit later paying off right now for the pride of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Of course, another driver where this could be considered a home track. He's kind of right in between Pocono and Dover, so we may have to get a hold of Joe and find out which he considers to be his home track, as right now he is just harassing Gabriel Lafreniere in that 06 Oxymore F-150. Most of these drivers already going single file. That keeps it nice and safe out here, with the exception of Aaron Mack, who right now looks like he wants to dive here to the inside. As Joe Stafford now working the low side of Gabriel Lafreniere, clawing his way toward Aaron Mack. Aaron Mack, of course, our Xfinity Series winner at Daytona earlier this season, so the big racetracks are good friends of his out here as we turn lap number 4 of 60, working our way toward lap number 15 here in stage number 1. You are watching the Jack Dowel Simulators and eSports iRacing.com Truck Series live on Sim Racing Media. Of course, yours truly always up here in the broadcast booth. We're watching right now Joe Stafford just serving everybody their lunch as he is driving the bejesus out of that number 57 Chevrolet Camaro. As wow! All of a sudden, that sends Bennett Allen down. Let's see what happened with Bennett right there. As all of a sudden, it's almost like he just got a bad breath of air. And we're going to get a chance to look at this right from the chopper cam. As we can see Bennett Allen leading this piece. We've got Joseph Lester Channing Ballou just behind him. As they haul it down the front stretch, all of a sudden, Bennett Allen just kicks it down here to the inside, opening the door for Channing Ballou. He comes back up the racetrack, though. Ballou not capitalizing on it, and Bennett Allen managing to keep it moving forward. So not sure what he was planning on right there, but obviously they still want to be experimenting here at the front of this piece. As now we can see Bennett pushing Channing, getting to the inside of Channing Ballou. All of a sudden, we're going to have an attempt here for another pass and another lead change as Bennett Allen dives to the inside of Channing Ballou going into turn one. It goes Bennett Allen, Channing Ballou, Joseph Lester, Jeremy Paris, and Brandon Minto, your top five. Right now, however, it is hot and heavy now with Joseph Lester suddenly deciding he wants in on this action as he chases down Channing Ballou on the front stretch. He is all over the rear bumper. Oh, but there it is, giving him a little bump as they are trying to catch up now with Bennett Allen, maybe trying to set themselves up as it's almost like Bennett is trying to break up that draft and keep Channing Ballou off of his rear, which is an absolutely incredible strategy, especially this early here in the race. It keeps the distance between these drivers and makes sure that, you know, Bennett Allen can sit here and lead this piece. As you can see him moving to the inside of the racetrack, that breaks up the draft that Channing Ballou is trying to pick up on him as he, Lester, and Paris are trying to form themselves up. A bunch of Chevrolets up here in your top five. Your first Ford back here in sixth position. That belongs to Eugenio Alonso, your points leader in Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series action. Of course, it looks like just three F-150s in the field tonight. It's Eugenio, Stoney Benfield, the faster pastor, and Gabriel Lafreniere in the 06 Oxmoor F-150. Then there are just, here it is, folks, 5 Toyota Tundras, and they're all lagging right now. Your first Toyota isn't even until 19th position, driven by Cross Junction, Virginia's very own Jeff Carson. But this league is definitely Chevy heavy, as 8 drivers not driving Chevrolets. That leaves nothing but, 18 Chevrolets out on the racetrack. Bennett Allen still leading this piece with Joseph Lester and Channing Ballou just behind. And right now, one of our closer battles belonging here to Jeff O'Rourke in the number 5 HendrickCars.com Silverado. Of course, about the same distance, all of a sudden, Nicholas Breidenbach and Tony Burt getting ready to go side by side as the Hooters machine getting ready to pass the Wooler number 4. As Tony is not giving up easily, but still cedes the position away to Orlando's Nicholas Breidenbach. Of course, Florida, the home to Hooters. Proud sponsor there on the number 24. Bennett Allen, Channing Ballou, Joseph Lester, Jeremy Paris, Brandon Minto, and Eugenio Alonso, your top 6, and they are only separated by a total of 1.84 seconds here at Pocono Raceway. 10 laps already in on stage number 1. As T.S. Ritchie says, let's go, number 70, the faster pastor. So obviously we've got a little bit of action here in our YouTube.com live chat. Ladies and gentlemen, feel free to let us know who you're pulling for or who you're cheering for tonight in our YouTube.com live chat. And while you're there, make sure that you subscribe to Sim Racing Media. Give us a thumbs up and let us know that you like what we have here tonight. Of course, if you like hanging out with me here on a Tuesday night, you can always come by on a Monday night at 8:20 p.m. Eastern when we go live. And Sunday nights at 7:30 p.m., you can hang out with the great Tony Trapasso and amazing Matt Metler as they call all the shots and the ones and twos and everything in between for Sunday night NASCAR Cup Series action, as it looks like Sean Kelly, Ron Fitting and Sean Kelly may have gotten into something and we are under caution. We can see Fitting working the inside of Sean Kelly in the 23. And, it looks like the 23 and the 3 just made contact. Not sure if the 23 came down. We'll quick take another look from another perspective, as we should have chopper cam footage from back here. We'll have to see if that's available. And it is. As we're going to see these drivers coming down the backstretch, we see Ron Fitting on the inside. That's Sean Kelly on the high side. And it looks like Kelly just kept coming down and collects the 3. Fortunately, just those 2 drivers affected. So not sure what might have caused that, whether it was an equipment failure or if Kelly just was absolutely too tight and had that wheel cocked, and as soon as he got grip back in the race truck, all hell broke loose. We'll take one more look here from the cockpit of Sean Kelly. As we go here, the cockpit of Sean Kelly, thank you. As we come into turn 3, we can see that wheel cocked, and yeah, that's an interesting perspective. So that should make things interesting here, is once we go back green flag racing, we might have a 1-lap shootout to the end of stage number 1. Kip Cook in our live chat. Let's go, number 70, the faster pastor. Right now, the faster pastor running in 8th position. And in fact, let's see if we can get Stoney here on the radio. Hey, Pastor, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Yes, sir, buddy. How you doing, Dave?
I'm good. Every night that I get a chance to talk with you is a good night. It looks like you've got another cheering section here in our YouTube.com live chat. How does that NC811.org F-150 feel tonight?
You know what, Dave? I think I really got a good truck, especially after we get 5 or 6 laps in the run. So looking forward to a great race tonight. Thank all of our church folks that's got on tonight, and Terry Ritchie's in the hospital in rehab, and I want to give a big shout out to him and Susan tonight.
Well, it looks like Terry is there from the hospital cheering you on, so either there's nothing else on TV or this is the most exciting night of his week.
Well, he and Susan really like it, and we got about, I don't know, probably 30 people. I don't know that all 30 are viewing. There's a ton of people from our church, and man, we just want to give people the message of Jesus, buddy. That's what we're about.
Listen, not every pulpit has to have carpet and a stole over the lectern. Sometimes your pulpit has a steering wheel.
Well, tonight Jesus is going to take the wheel because he's my life, and I'm looking for a win tonight, to be honest with you.
All right, brother. Well, listen, amen. God bless you, and good luck. Maybe we'll see you on the other side.
Thank you, Dave.
That, of course, the faster pastor, Mr. Stoney Benfield, driver of the number 70 NC811.org F-150. One of just a few Fords in the field tonight, as I had mentioned earlier. But right now, our race leader, Channing Ballou, just behind the iRacing.com pace car. When we go back green flag racing, it will be a one-lap shootout to the end of stage number 1. In fact, we're going to see if we can get Channing one more time up here in the booth. Hey, Channing, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Hey, Dave, what's up?
There you are. I tried to get you pre-race, but you must not have been able to hear me. So
yeah,
how's that truck
I had
feeling?
my settings messed up or something. The truck's fine. The problem is the aero package. You can push somebody out and make them faster than what they really are, and then it's really hard to pass. So didn't help what happened right there. It messed up our strategy. We're gonna have to come from the back, but it is what it is.
Well, if there's anybody on this racetrack that I'd have faith in being able to come from the back all the way back up to the front, it would be you, sir.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, the truck's got speed, but being able to pass is another thing. I mean, everybody's so tight with the draft. It's going to be interesting. I mean, I didn't really expect the leader to be blocking like that early, but hey, to each his own. Just know that he's going to get it back whenever we ever get in front of him.
Oh, trust me, I was watching the entire time. It looked like he was trying to break up that draft and keep you from getting on the rear tailgate there of his Chevrolet. But all right, buddy. Well, listen, you get that Silverado back out on track, and of course, we're going to have a one-lap shootout. It looks to the end of stage number 1.
Yeah, we got the Chevy Silverado fixed up. We got some damage from our teammate in pit road, so we'll see how bad off we are. Arrows everything at this place, and it's that's not what you want, is a little bit of damage.
Absolutely. All right, buddy. Well, listen, good luck the rest of the way, and get ready to go back green.
Thank you, man.
That, of course, Channing Ballou, driver of the number 88 Chevrolet Camaro with Copenhagen on the hood tonight. The iRacing.com pace car bringing Bennett Allen and Brandon Minto into turn number 3. Of course, there is no turn 4 in a triangle, that's for sure. 3 distinct turns here at Pocono, but the most important turn is the one that the iRacing.com pace car makes right now, diving down pit road. The man in the stand has the green flag in his hand once again. We enter the Geico restart zone, and we're underway. A one-lap shootout here at the end of stage 2, and Bennett Allen gets the jump over Brandon Minto. Right now, they're looking for any kind of real estate. This could get a little dicey, as the restart going to have huge implications on bonus points here for the playoffs. As back through 10th position, it looks like Rich Jet able to put some separation between himself and Matt Mackin. Mackin, though, not ready to go to bed early, as Jet moves in front of Tony Burt, who has about 0.3 of a second over Mackin now. And it looks like that may be enough time to get that through there as we enter turn 2, the tunnel turn, and go down the back chute toward that nearly flat turn of turn 3. Brandon Minto now trailing Bennett Allen by about 0.6 of a second. Bennett Allen coming out of turn number 3. He has all the momentum in the world that he needs. He crosses the start-finish line. And Bennett Allen on the green and white checkered flag, followed by Brandon Minto, Eugenio Alonso, Stoney Benfield, Sylvain Jolie, Jeff O'Rourke, Nicholas Breidenbach, Rich Jet, and Dan Morgan, with Joseph Lester coming across in 9th. So it has been an interesting end to stage number 1. We're going to see if we can get Bennett here dialed up. Hey, Bennett, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
What up, Dave?
Man, I'll tell you what's up. You decided that you want to take home that green and white checkered flag early on tonight. How's that number 15 JCTV Chevrolet feeling?
A little snug center. A little snug center, a little loose off, but I think we'll be able to manage. Channing behind us is pretty fast, so we'll just have to manage the draft, maybe try to fall in behind him. Pretty interesting strategy for some of those guys going for points, then not stay out. I kind of had a brain fart moment and didn't pit. But I'll take the stage win. I'll take the interview. But I still have my race control duties tonight. I have things I have to do, but wanted to try to make some history tonight and be the first race control to win a race. So, this Zeem Setup Shop, JCTV broadcast Chevrolet Silverado is, like I said, a little snug, but see how it goes.
I mean, race control is one of those jobs in iRacing that is just a thankless job. And, of course, if you wind up bringing home the checkered flag at the end of this piece, I can only imagine what the Discord is going to look like. Oh, look, the RC brings home a win.
I think I cheated or something. I don't know. Like
Listen, Joseph last night, I know he's your BFF. He brings home the checkered flag with an injured leg. So, I mean, you guys are just obviously that talented.
Yeah, I'm still kind of mad from last night. I think I had one get away from me, but like I said, Channing's fast, man. I have to hold him off, and Joseph is always fast, so see what happens.
All right, buddy. Well, listen, good luck the rest of the way, and maybe we'll see you on the other side of stage 2 for another interview.
Yep. See you, Dave.
Wholesale pit stops underway as Joseph Lester chooses to stay out. Joseph Lester and Joe Stafford, a couple of Joes, man, staying out in front of the pack along with Gabriel Lafreniere. They last came in on lap 12, so obviously it looks like Stafford, Lafreniere, Paris, Fitting have all decided to take a little bit of that playbook from Joseph Lester that got him into victory lane last night. Welcome back to Pocono Raceway and the Jack Dowel Simulators and eSports iRacing.com Truck Series. Live here on Sim Racing Media. Of course, glad to have you with us this evening as we get ready to start on stage number 2 here. Joseph Lester going to lead us back to green as the drivers come out of turn number 3. Of course, that sign says it all. What turn 4? The iRacing.com pace car dives down pit road. The man in the stand has the green flag in his hand, and we're back underway at Pocono Raceway. Some gutsy moves here at the beginning of stage number 2 as they are side by side coming down the backstretch. Nobody giving anybody any kind of real estate, that's for sure. All kinds of tangled mess from about 11th on back. And I saw that. Let's see who that was. That looked like it could have been the 24 or the 77. As we're going to take a look right now, that's the 77 of Rich Jet in that Godzilla Chevrolet. A little crossover move. The 77 gets sideways. The 09 does the exact same thing. That's Timothy Cook. So 2 trucks doing almost the exact same thing in the exact same place at the exact same time. So Rich Jet and Timothy Cook going to have to get some damage repaired, that's for sure, as we get ready to go back live here. Our first caution for cause with 10 laps to go in stage 2. Of course, you know, stage 2 always the abbreviated stage because once the laps start counting, there's no way to stop them here on iRacing.com. I want to welcome all of you in here to our YouTube.com live chat. Make sure that you let us know who you're pulling for, what you're watching tonight here on the racetrack at Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Of course, nestled in the beautiful hills of northeastern Pennsylvania. About a 45-minute ride to Scranton, Pennsylvania. Of course, the fictional home of Dunder Mifflin. For those of you that are fans of The Office television show, popular on NBC for a number of years. We're just about another 45 minutes north of Allentown, Pennsylvania and the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, and about a half hour away from the town of Jim Thorpe, formerly known as Mock Chunk, right down 903. Of course, I say formerly known as Mock Chunk. An interesting story about Jim Thorpe just down the road. Of course, Jim Thorpe, known as the greatest athlete of the first half of the 20th century, was a 4-sport athlete, of course, playing football. He is the statue that welcomes you in Canton, Ohio at the Football Hall of Fame, also part of the inaugural class there at Cooperstown for baseball. And, you know, just an incredible athlete. But when he passed away, basically his family was out of money. His wife was out of money, as Jim Thorpe was known to have a let's just say a problem with libation or excessive libation. But basically, she signed a contract with the town of Mock Chunk, and Mock Chunk agreed to change their name to Jim Thorpe to honor the athlete. Of course, they built an incredible mausoleum on the east side of Mock Chunk. It was actually 2 boroughs, Mock Chunk and East Mock Chunk. They merged themselves together and renamed themselves Jim Thorpe in honor of the greatest athlete of the first half of the 20th century. Once he was there, though, it kind of became an interesting deal, as basically the tribe that, you know, he was Native American, and the tribe that he was officially a member of in Oklahoma wanted his body returned to Oklahoma. Unfortunately, though, the document that his wife had signed was a legal document, and at this point they can't get him moved back to Oklahoma, and he has to stay in the town named for him. Of course, interestingly enough, the town would still like to change their name back to Mock Chunk at some point because, to be completely honest, how many folks out there on in YouTube land or on Facebook even have a clue of who Jim Thorpe was? Barbara Hawkins in our YouTube.com live chat cheering on the Faster Pastor. Of course, Stony Benfield always having one of the largest cheering sections anywhere. But anyway, getting back to Jim Thorpe. So at this point, he's in a mausoleum. You can go see it. Of course, they raised the money for the mausoleum and everything like that for him through a nickel campaign that was run through the local newspaper. Of course, the town itself at the time was, excited to celebrate having this great athlete entombed in their town. And, now here we are 70 plus years later, and we're at a point right now where most people are okay if he left Jim Thorpe the town, but unfortunately, like I said, legal troubles dictate that he must stay. So the iRacing.com pace car leading us back through turn 2. That's of course the tunnel turn. We'll get into that in a little bit. The Pride of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, going to be on the inside of Joseph Lester, who is our race leader as we stand right now. Gabriel Lafreniere, Jeremy Paris, and Stony Benfield make up the top 5. So the Faster Pastor has already climbed up 5 positions. However, our biggest mover of the night right now belongs to Orlando, Florida's very own Nicholas Breidenbach, running in 7th position right now after starting 25th. So right now, big mover is Nicholas Breidenbach. Of course, 25th right now being occupied by Sean Kelly. And as we come back to green, we're going to turn it up here on Sim Racing Media. And we're under caution once again as Nicholas Breidenbach and Bennett Allen seem to have gotten into it here. We'll take a look. We see Breidenbach on the high side of the 86. That's Eugenio Alonso. He goes pretty wide in front of him. Stony Benfield on the low side. And, just a rub there at the wall. And, Breidenbach and Alonso come together. And, as Breidenbach slid across the bottom of the racetrack, and we just saw it right there. As Breidenbach slid across the bottom of the racetrack, he caught the 15 of Bennett Allen, and we can see that right here. We can see that ricochet. Bennett Allen going down to get out of the way, trying not to lose control of his own truck in that B-Blaze vintage Chevrolet Silverado, but just could not do it. And that sent him spinning. And we'll get a chance here from the cockpit of Bennett Allen's car to see whether or not he had any room, and chances are he sees the wreck breaking out. He goes to go low and just could not do it, almost like an ARCA brake situation. We're going to take one more look at this from our blimp cam. We can see Bennett rolling out of 3. He's right behind Channing Ballou. Oh, he made a little contact with Ron Fitting as he was coming down to get out of the way, but just absolutely could not get out of his own way as he winds up spinning helplessly across the front stretch. And it looks like we're going to have the same end to Stage 2 as we did to Stage 1, as once we go back green flag racing, we should have a one-lap shootout to the conclusion of Stage 2. An interesting fact about the 3 turns here at Pocono Raceway, they are actually modeled after 3 different racetracks that, of course, were run on with stock cars in mind. Turn 1 modeled after Trenton Speedway, followed by Turn 2 that was modeled after Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and Turn 3 with just 6-degree banking is modeled after the Milwaukee Mile. Now, many of you may be familiar with Indianapolis and the Milwaukee Mile, but one thing to keep in mind here is that Trenton International Speedway, kind of an interesting raceway in and of itself. 5 turns around that piece, and of course it's over in Hamilton Township, Mercer County in New Jersey, so just outside of Trenton. It was opened in 1900 and closed in 1980, so many of us may not remember seeing any races there, but of course the Milwaukee Mile and Indianapolis Motor Speedway still a major part of our stock car racing history. As of course, iRacing able to keep alive many of our older racetracks and things that were done away with years ago. As the iRacing.com pace car brings us out of turn number 3, Joseph Lester and Joe Staff are going to be on the front row. The iRacing.com pace car dives down pit road. They're coming. They're coming. The green flag waves, and we're back. Joseph Lester getting a jump into the top of Philadelphia's very own Joe Stafford. Stafford going to follow in single file here. 2 laps left in stage number 2. So instead of 1 lap as for a shootout, it's going to be 2. Stafford getting inside of Joseph Lester. Door handle to door handle as we come out of turn 1 and down the back chute. A little 2-step here. Of course, sometimes in Texas they call that a do-si-do, but in Pennsylvania we do the Pennsylvania polka, and that's exactly what they did right there. A little 2-step hop as Stafford still trying to get around Lester now. Stafford diving to the inside here, coming through the tunnel turn, and out of turn number 3 they go side by side. And once again, Stafford creeping around, trying to find his way around Joseph Lester, who knows that he's one of the only drivers out here with something for Joseph. As Joseph, even driving with that messed up leg and that injury, he loves this racetrack, as he said so many times. And now the hammer and tongs comes out here as we come out of turn number 1 and down the back chute. Lester and Stafford doing battle down the back chute, coming into the tunnel turn for that short little straightaway between turn 2 and 3. Stafford still looking for a way around Lester. He's right up on his bumper as they come into 3. Stafford getting to the inside of Lester. As we look on from our drone cam, Stafford finally getting the run on Lester that he needs. Does Lester have the momentum now coming out of 3? They're side by side coming out of 3 down the front stretch. And Lester going to have the edge, win stage number 2 just ahead of Joe Stafford, Gabriel Lafreniere, Brandon Minto, Sylvain Jolie, Stoney Benfield, Dan Morgan, Aaron Mack, Jeff O'Rourke, and Alexander Gangler to end stage number 2 here at Pocono Raceway. And we'll see if we can get a hold of Joseph here on our Discord channel. There he is, popping in now. Hey, Joseph, it's Dave up here. You got me?
I got you, buddy.
Listen, there you are, taking home the green and white checkered flag from stage 2. Now, last night, you weren't able to sweep the first 2 stages, but you got the important one. How's that 84 feeling tonight?
Oh, it's feeling great. Joe's on the same side as me, and I mean, we were close that whole stage. He had draft on that final lap, and he was able to close it in just a little bit, and we were able to provide some action for you up there.
Yeah, definitely coming out of turn 3. I was excited sitting right here on the edge of my seat. I mean, you had a run on Joe coming out of 3, and I mean, that momentum of yours just carried you through like a piece of luggage. Now here we go into stage 3. Of course, it's going to be just fewer than 30 laps to the end here. So what are you thinking as we get ready for 3?
Gotta save a little tire. We're gonna end up having 2 sets of tires for this final stage. So if we do get a lot of cautions, that's not gonna matter. But either way, I'm gonna save a little tire here just in case we do get that long run like we did last night, as this place is known for.
Now track temperature right now at 110. I mean, obviously it's slip sliding around out there. Are you thinking about making any kind of adjustments, at least maybe putting a little bit of wedge to tighten it up, or you want it loose and fast?
It's feeling actually a little bit tight here right now, but I'm not one to make adjustments in race. I'll just kind of stick to what I got. I might make a small adjustment with the tire pressures here, though, just to try and loosen it up on the short run.
All right, man. Well, listen, you're leading the field down pit road for wholesale pit stops, so good luck the rest of the way, and maybe we'll see you in victory lane.
Yeah, I hope so, buddy.
That, of course, the boy king, Joseph Lester. I'll tell you what, that young man has really come a long way in discipline out here on the racetrack, and I am proud to see him out here doing as well as he is. Of course, winning last night in the Xfinity Series, winning Stage 2. And right now, John Wilco going to stay out here on the racetrack, at least for the time being. Back at Pocono Raceway here. Sorry for that little break there, but I had to check in with my guys in the other Discord channels here within the SNN family of racing series. When we go back green, it's going to be John Wilco and Rich Jett on the front row. John Wilco opting for the outside of row number 1. So he's going to have control of the field. Of course, Wilco last coming down on lap number 26. He's only got a couple of laps, maybe 2 green flag laps on those tires, but still Wilco going to have control here as the iRacing.com pace car dives down pit road. We hit the Geico restart zone, and Wilco John Wilco going to be bringing along Channing Ballou here down the front stretch. As Ballou looks to the inside, all of a sudden, just like that, Wilco's lead going to evaporate like a drop of water in the Arizona desert. .35 laps complete here at Pocono Raceway as John Wilco from McAdoo, Pennsylvania took the green flag here for stage number 3. Right now he's on the inside of the pride of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Joe Stafford, driving the number 57 Chevrolet Silverado. He's beating along Channing Ballou out of Pensacola, Florida. But Channing Ballou leads this piece now with Stafford hot on his heels trying to close in. He has Joseph Lester, the Boy King, following him in the 84. Looks like maybe they're trying to hook up and make something happen here. If you're just joining us, you've joined us right here in the middle of stage 3. Of course, just going green a moment ago. About 25 laps to go now in the final stage. So a lot of racing has already gone on. It's been a pretty quiet night. A couple of cautions for cars tonight. And make sure that you give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Sim Racing Media right here on YouTube.com. Let us know who you're pulling for, what you're watching right now here on the YouTube.com live chat. As John Wilkins side by side with Eugenio Alonso. Looks like he's not putting up much of a fight with Eugenio as we step aside and pay some bills here on Sim Racing Media. Commercial just now a moment ago, Jeremy Paris all of a sudden getting all kinds of sideways involved with Rich Jett. So we're going to take a look at that from our live perspective here. Looks like Rich Jett just accidentally hooked him. Taking a look from here in the chopper cam, it looks like Jett just came down on the right rear of Jeremy Paris, turned him, and just has Paris sideways on the outside retaining wall here on the tunnel turn here at Pocono Pocono Raceway, correction. Channing Ballou leads this piece as we're going to go single file and see if anybody's going to think about coming down pit road. And it looks like Ballou may, as he's going to bring the rest of the field with him. Wholesale pit stops with 21 to go. Ballou brings us down pit road, but that leaves Jeff Carson and Steve Herring out on the track. We'll see what's going on with these two drivers. Maybe we can get a hold of Cross Junction, Virginia's favorite son. And unfortunately, we can't find Jeff Carson on the radio comms. So maybe he might hear us talking about him and hop in there quick. As we are under caution yet again now with 20 to go. When we go back green, now that those wholesale pit stops have been completed, Jeff Carson and Steve Herring going to occupy row number 1 with Gabriel Lafreniere, Bennett Allen, Channing Ballou, Alexander Gangler, Joseph Lester, Joe Stafford, Brandon Minto, and Stoney Benfield make up your top 10. And of course, the faster pastor, Stoney Benfield, rounding out the top 10. He says he's got a good truck tonight, as we just talked to him a little bit earlier. And I'll tell you what, Stoney is one of those drivers that you can never count out. He practices his craft. I know that he gets his laps in, during practice or open races. So I'm sure that we're still not done seeing him up here, as he has now gotten back to where he begun in 10th position. However, our big leader tonight right now is Steve Herring, who of course just stayed out. He was only down on lap 32, so about 10 lap old tires. So it looks like maybe he and Jeff Carson are going to get run over by the field if they're not careful, unless Carson is in tire saving mode, which oftentimes he is. So we're going to see an interesting restart when we go back green flag racing. The iRacing.com pace car dives down pit road. Jeff Carson with his foot hovering just above the loud penalty drops it. We're underway. He's going to bring along Bennett, who was wrecked earlier on in the race, just came down for some more repair. 4 tires and a tank of Go Fast. As we now have 18 laps to go to the end of this piece. Bennett Allen looking to the outside of Jeff Carson now as we have a battle for the lead, and all of a sudden breaking out here, Alexander Gangler making the 8-car proud, as he's got the Mountain Dew throwback Toyota Tundra, all kinds of cranked up. All of a sudden, the Toyotas come from the back of the field to the front, as just 3 are left running on the track right now. As side by side goes Gangler and Carson, the 8 and the 9. Carson taking the low side, trying to get around Gangler, and right now that's going to be frustrating for Jeff Carson. We know that he has a faster truck, but at the moment, that kind of helps him stay away. Oh, nope, never mind, just kidding. He could have used Gangler as a pick, as Gangler slows down Joseph Lester, who now just bails out of line to the inside. Crossing the start-finish line here with 17 to go. Bennett Allen, meanwhile, breaking up the draft, dives to the inside of the front stretch and now goes to the high side, making the entry into turn number 1. Lester, meanwhile, negating Alexander Gangler very well, as Channing Ballou coming up here in fourth. Looks like who just stepped out of line back here? That's Eugenio Alonso bouncing along the inside safer barrier. We're going to run that back and see what happened. Eugenio Alonso here in the number 86. You have to excuse me, folks, as he gets the inside of the 5. He makes contact with the 5. That's Jeff O'Rourke, and that sends him down onto the inside wall. Probably a manual caution thrown by race control. We'll have to check in with race control momentarily here. Looks like Eugenio Alonso may be putting it on the hauler as he's towing back to pit road. So as we had mentioned earlier, we're right between Allentown and Scranton, Pennsylvania, and another town that we're not too far away from is home to America's oldest brewery, first opening in 1829 as the Eagle Brewery, later becoming the D.G. Yingling & Son Brewery. In Pottsville, Pennsylvania, proudly located on Mahontongo Street if you're from outside of Schuylkill County, but to those of us who know it well, that's Mahontongo Street. And I'll tell you what a great tour of that facility at the old brewery. Of course, the new brewery, which puts out about 15 times more barrels of beer than the old brewery can do in a single day. But that's over in Mill Creek, or Port Carbon more properly. But I'll tell you what, you go there to America's oldest brewery, the Yingling Brewery, of course, proud brewers of Yingling Lager, which not my favorite beer. Of course, the Yingling Lager reintroduced back in 1985 during a rebrand that was done by current owner Dick Yingling. Of course, he was the 5th generation. The 6th generation, his 4 daughters, running the brewery now, with him still at the helm. And of course, Yingling has expanded to having facilities in Tampa, Florida, as well as the Mill Creek facility. But you go for a tour of the old brewery, you can see just how difficult it is to brew a barrel of beer. In literally 1829, they're still basically doing it the same way at the old brewery. And you can go check out these caves that are underneath the brewery. Of course, that's how they were lagering beer in the 1800s. Of course, lagering, just a process of letting that yeast ferment. But and that's a whole other thing. But the caves down there served 2 purposes. Not only did they keep beer cold, but during Prohibition, the Yingling Brewery needed a way to make money and stay afloat. And, they, of course, had near beer, which is, so to speak, non-alcoholic beer. And basically it was water that looked like, it probably tasted like urine back in the day. But also to make ends meet, they wound up making ice cream right across the street and keeping it chilled down in the caves underneath the brewery. So, and of course, there's stories about secret walls and things down in those caves, of course, hiding at that point prohibited alcohol from those agents during Prohibition. Of course, once Prohibition was repealed by the 21st Amendment, because of course you have to be 18 to vote and 21 to drink. Once the 21st Amendment had been ratified by Congress, the then owner of the brewery, Mr. Yingling, sent an entire truckload of what they called winter beer, which of course we know as Yingling Premium, but sent a truckload of winter beer to then President Franklin Delano Roosevelt in Washington to celebrate the repealing of Prohibition. And of course, this area rich in history, of course, with coal mining. The only place in the entire world that you can find the type of coal that Pocono Raceway basically sits on top of It's called anthracite coal, and you can only find it in Pennsylvania. It's hard. It actually burns cleaner than anything else. You know, sure, they have coal mines in West Virginia and other parts of the world, but that's what's called bituminous coal, and it just does not burn as cleanly and as hot as anthracite. And of course, anthracite, once it burns hotter, that means that there's more carbon being burned up, and it's, although it's dirty as sin, it's still cleaner than bituminous. And of course, you can only find it here in the hills of Pennsylvania. Because everybody knows what the goal is. If you're on your way from Pottsville, Pennsylvania, out here to Pocono Raceway, you can drive through a little town called Coaldale, where everybody's goal is to mine more coal, because a carload a day means extra pay. Of course, that right along 209, painted alongside a bus shelter in Coaldale, Pennsylvania. But very rich history, very proud history in the coal regions of Pennsylvania. And we're back green flag racing with 13 laps to go. Bennett Allen gets the jump over Joseph Lester as we dive down into turn number 1. We're going to turn it up here on Sim Racing Media. Welcome back to Pocono Raceway, where we just had an incident here with Matt Mackin and John Wilco. We're going to see Matt Mackin in the 0-1 slide up in front of John Wilco, and Wilco not having any place to go, not willing to check up, just took him the rest of the way out. As we're going to see if we can catch this here from turn number 2's exit. And we can see once again just a puff of smoke as they hit the wall. And Mackin about to slide right on past our camera here at turn 3. And once more from our drone eye in the sky, we just see it all break apart for Matt Mackin alongside of McAdoo, Pennsylvania's very own John Wilco. So again, kind of a rough night, but not near as rough as John had it last night in the Xfinity Series. However, that's going to cycle the faster pastor, Stoney Benfield, here to the lead, as it looks like one more stop for tires and fuel. Stoney deciding maybe he's going to stay up front. We'll see if we can get a hold of him. Hey, Pastor, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Yeah, Dave, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing a lot better than you. Right now, you've got to have a little bit of sweat there on the old knuckles wrapped around the steering wheel. I mean, you've got about 15 lap older tires. How are you thinking of holding off this field?
Well, it's my only chance to win. I'm taking a chance. I think my truck's good with used tires. We're going to see.
I mean, your trucks historically have been set up for the long run, so I'm curious to see what happens. And I'll tell you what, from up here in the broadcast booth, that makes me a little nervous. But at the same time, it's exciting to watch you out there doing what you're doing there in the nc811.org. number 70. I mean, you know, having to hold off Alexander Gangler and Brandon Minto, I mean, I can tell you how I feel about some of these drivers, but you've got your work cut out for you, sir.
Yes, sir, but, you know, if you don't take chances, man, you can't win. So it may be a bad decision. I don't think so, but if it is, it is, and I want to take a risk, see if we can win a race, man.
Well, it's all about leaving it out on the field of battle, so good luck the rest of the way, my friend.
Thank you so much, Dave.
That, of course, the voice of Stoney Benfield, your current race leader. And as we get ready to go back green flag racing with 4 to go, it's going to be Stoney Benfield, the faster pastor, with Alexander Gangler on his outside. Brandon Minto in third, Sylvain Joly in fourth, Joseph Lester in fifth, Bennett Allen, Channing Ballou, Joe Stafford, Aaron Mack, and Gabriel Lafreniere going to make up your top 10. And this is for all the marbles, that's for sure. Of course, these drivers that have the fast tires are going to be out here ready to cook them right off of there. Because, I mean, even so, as we take a look here, the track temperature now up to 112 degrees here at Pocono Raceway. And I'll tell you what, that's a pretty toasty track if you ask me. I mean, even to be sitting in the stands right now, if we take a look at that, 81 degrees, it's toasty, and there is no shade and no rest for the weary here as we watch the final 4 laps of the Brake Clean 150 in the Jack Dowel Simulators and eSports iRacing.com Truck Series live on Sim Racing Media. Glad to have you with us tonight. Thank you for making us a part of your evening, as we are always thankful to have you folks there. If you haven't done so already, why haven't you? Make sure that you subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and let us know there in the youtube.com live chat who you're pulling for and who you're paying attention to tonight, whether on the racetrack or, you know, in race control, whatever toots your horn. As Stoney Benfield follows the iRacing.com pace car down that short stretch toward turn number 3. The only thing left to do is watch these drivers battle it out, and right now Stoney has to be able to make that F-150 F1 wide. The iRacing.com pace car makes that hard left down pit road. There's some pushing and shoving behind Stoney. He takes off and gets the jump over top of the toe. We're back underway. 3 laps to go now as Stoney Benfield has to hold off Alexander Gangler coming into turn number 1. He, like I said, has to make that F-150 about 3 lanes wide, and so far he's got a good jump as we're back under caution. Taking a look to see what happened. That with this caution, we will be going into NASCAR overtime. We'll explain how that works. But here on the restart, we see Jeremy Paris getting involved in a little kerfuffle here, if you will, as we're going to go to our chopper cam high above the racetrack. You can see that 05 there with Dan Morgan suddenly making it 3 wide with Matt Mackin on the high side. And Dan Morgan just hooking Jeremy Paris and spinning him down the front stretch and into turn number 1. We'll take a look at it one more time from here at turn 1, and we can see just the absolute mayhem that causes as Paris goes sliding past our camera. That will leave Stoney Benfield, the faster pastor, up here in the lead. So it's going to be Benfield, Gangler, Jolie, and Minto, your top 4 there in the front 2 rows, as it looks like the faster pastor is going to quickly get caught up to the iRacing.com pace car. Of course, the interesting part here is that this is going to trigger NASCAR overtime. Of course, what that means, folks, is that we're going to come around. Once the green flag waves, we're going to have one green flag lap. Oof, couldn't get that all the way out. And once we get around that first lap, that white flag is suddenly going to fly. If we're still under green when the white flag flies, we will race back to checkers, no matter what the next colored flag is, whether it's checkered or yellow. If before the white flag flies, we have another caution, we will rack them, stack them, and do it all over again. Checking sports from around the world, of course, it looks like the Philadelphia Phillies pulled out another one from the Baltimore Orioles. Of course, last night, some paint schemes reflecting Hall of Fame week in the baseball world. Looks like right now, in the middle of the 6th inning, going to the bottom of the 6th, the Washington Nationals trailing the Colorado Rockies at home 4-1. New York Mets lead the New York Yankees in the Bronx in the Subway Series in the top of the 9th. Up in New York, the Boston Red Sox lead the Atlanta Braves at Fenway up in Boston 2-1 in the bottom of the 3rd. So a busy day in baseball. Of course, the Philadelphia Phillies celebrating Christmas in July at the ballpark in South Philadelphia. Speaking of South Philadelphia, checking in on Joe Stafford running in 7th position right now. But right now, the big story is Stoney Benfield hitting the Geico restart zone, and we're back underway. This is NASCAR Overtime, folks. We are racing for that white flag. Stoney Benfield gets a jump over Alexander Gangler. He slides in front of Sylvain Joly. He's going to take a push, and we are going to go under caution again, as it looks like Channing Ballou just got blown into the outside wall of turn number 1. Taking a look right here in turn number 1, we're going to see maybe not really a whole lot of contact, but Joe Stafford running in 7th position runs Ballou up into the wall of turn number 1. So that's going to once again keep us. Oh, and it looks like Stafford's spinning around trying to get it back under control. We'll take a look. Oh, and some obvious retaliation from Ballou. Once again, we had the chopper just above the action here. As we take a look, and we see the 57 coming up the racetrack and catching the inside of the 88. The 57 spinning down the racetrack onto the exit. But now watch this, folks. All of a sudden, as the 57 gets it back under control and pointed the right direction, Ballou comes out of nowhere, and that is not a love tap, as he just rams Joe Stafford right in the rear end. We're going to take a look at this from the perspective there of the roll bar of Channing Ballou. As we see right here, Ballou getting turned. He sees Stafford running away, and he gets the truck to come to a stop after just being pinballed around there. And there's no question about that. So once again, that leaves Stoney Benfield atop the pile here. As now he's going to lead Sylvain Joly and Bennett Allen back to green. And I'll tell you what, if I was him, I would have much rather seen the 8 truck of Alexander Gangler. And it looks like Alexander came down pit road. Not sure if he was involved in anything a moment ago. So this is going to be an interesting restart here for the Faster Pastor, as Barbara Pinion once again in the YouTube.com live chat cheering him on. just checking in on Twitter a moment ago as I was taking part in this poll from Buster Only. He is at Buster_ESPN. Make sure that you head on over to Twitter and take part in this. Should you, when you're at a ball game, should you put ketchup on a hot dog? My answer, absolutely not. Ketchup should never be put on a hot dog in public or in polite company, especially after the age of 10. If you're at the ballpark, you want those onions that have been sitting in that plastic container for about the last 6 hours. They've been diced and they're getting all wilty and juicy. You want that mustard on there, and you just want to be able to bite into that, have a couple of pieces of onion fall off the back of the hot dog while you take that first bite. You know, you don't put ketchup on a hot dog in public. And furthermore, that goes for racing. You know, this has really gotten up my ire tonight. You know, here's the thing, folks. Hot dogs are as American as apple pie, and quite frankly, my favorite food. And there are just certain things that you don't do. In fact, if you're up here at Pocono Raceway sometime, make sure, at least on a Saturday, they're closed on Sundays, but go on down to Mahanoy City, a short ride down 903 to Route 54, over into Mahanoy City, and you go to the CJ's Hot Dog Hut there, right on Center Street in Mahanoy City. Get yourself a devil dog, and you will thank me in the morning. Speaking of being thankful, Stoney Benfield alongside Sylvain Jolie coming into the Geico restart zone. He gets a bump from Ben Allen, and we're back underway. NASCAR take two. Stoney going high. He's going to have to get down in front of Bennett Allen as we come down into turn number 1. Bennett looking to the inside. It's not going to allow a whole lot of room as they are now going to be fender to fender going into 1. Looks like Stoney going to have the run coming out of turn 1 and down the backstretch. This is for all the marbles, folks. As we head down the backstretch, Stoney Benfield still leads this piece just ahead of Joseph Lester. As Lester has decided to get in on this fun, all of a sudden they are going to be once again fender to fender. Going through the tunnel turn, Stoney going to have to draft up alongside of Joseph to hold himself in there. Meanwhile, Bennett Allen doing better with battle with Sylvain Jolie at the rear of that piece. Right now, that puts Stoney in second position, and Joseph Lester out in the lead now with a 0.3 of a second lead. He drops down to the inside of the front stretch. The white flag flies and the racing back to checkers. Stoney Benfield being pushed down the front stretch by Bennett Allen toward turn number 1. Jeff O'Rourke diving down pit lane. He's decided to get out of the way here. Benfield looking to the inside now of Joseph as he's trying desperately to draft up to the rear of this young man. He doesn't want to lose that track position. And we can see Stoney being pushed along down the backstretch by Joseph Lester's best friend, Bennett Allen, as Bennett trying to get around Stoney to try to do battle once again with Joseph. He looks to the inside of Stoney Benfield. The faster pass, we're not sure if he's faster than Bennett Allen. And now all of a sudden we're going to be freight trained by Sylvain Jolie, our neighbor from the north. Sylvain Jolie trying to split up Bennett Allen and Stoney Benfield. This is going to be for all the marbles coming down the front stretch. Bennett Allen rubs the wall, but he dives back in front of Stoney Benfield. And it goes Lester Allen Benfield here for your podium as the checkered flag flies. Sylvain Jolie, Aaron Mack, Brandon Minto, Gabriel Lafreniere, Steve Herring, Jeff Carson, and Chris Claude rounding out the top 10 as Chris Claude sporting, and I didn't even notice this earlier, sporting a Sundrop paint scheme as he was a little bit different last night in the Verizon paint scheme for Xfinity, aside from his normal Dasani paint scheme. But the story of the night so far, Joseph Lester starting on the outside pole, bringing home the checkered flag, and he is joined on the podium by Bennett Allen and Stoney Benfield. And Barbara, I love you, but I would never put coleslaw on a hot dog. Now, chili, that's different, but it's got to be chili without beans. Generally, it's canned. But, or you know, in Berks County, we would call that a, Berks County, Pennsylvania, that is, we would call that a Coney Island hot dog. For reasons I'm not quite sure of. Well, Joseph, 2 nights in a row. Hey, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me.
I got you, buddy.
Man, look at you. 2 nights in a row here in the Under Series in the SNN family of racing, and here you finish up in Victory Lane. Obviously, that truck dialed in as you just blew the doors off of Stony Benfield to get up here into Victory Lane. How you feeling, buddy?
Oh, I'm feeling great. I mean, I could get used to this 1-2 combination. It's the same finish as last night.
Yeah, it's like deja vu for me. It's especially as I look down my top 2. I mean, look, teammates, teamwork makes the dream work, and you absolutely put it together nice tonight with your best friend, Bennett Allen. I mean, you guys are incredible, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. I wish he could have
go
got
ahead
by
and get that
Stoney.
Polish victory lap. You are in Polish country here.
Yeah. I wish he could have got by Stoney a little bit quicker, and we could have battled, but it was unfortunate. Just situations happened towards the end where it really whittled out the competition.
Yeah, I mean, there were some really exciting moments here at the end of this race. It seems like at the end of every stage, there was, toward the end of every stage at least, there was something exciting going on. And it made for some really great racing. It made for an incredible finish here. I mean, you had yourself a 0.3 of a second lead over Bennett and Stoney. But, I mean, now next week, we get ready to switch gears yet again. In fact, as I pull up the schedule here, looks like next week we're going to be heading out to Richmond. So what are you thinking as we get ready to go short track racing after the 2.5 miler?
Well, you know how I love my short track, so that's a great opportunity for me to go 2 in a row there. It's nice because I was in a points battle with Wilco, as I said, and I think I made up that. So as long as I can get a decent finish next week, we'll be playoff bound.
All right, man. Well, listen, congratulations. And as always, before we cut you loose, who do you need to thank?
Well, first and foremost, I got to thank God for putting me in the position to do this every week. Got to thank my family. Got to thank my sponsor, Living Not Lumber. They come on here a couple weeks ago at Mid-Ohio and really should have won that race too. So a second and a first in this scheme, it's nice to get their name out there.
Absolutely, buddy. Well, listen, we will see you next week at Richmond, of course, as we get ready to head back into the heart of NASCAR country. So congratulations, and we'll see you at Richmond.
Yes, sir.
I think.
Hey, Bennett, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me.
Yes, sir, I do.
You sound sad, but I mean, that's your boy up there on the top step. I mean, is it really that bad?
Yeah, it's supposed to be me. What do you mean?
Well, then you
Hey.
should have driven faster. I feel like if you're not first, you're...
I'm last, exactly.
Ah,
That's why I'm mad.
Okay.
I will say it was a good battle back from the incident in stage 2. I don't know how I finished second. I shouldn't have finished second. I had a little bit of aero damage, like permanent aero damage. I had all my damage fixed, about 2.5 minutes worth, and just battling. I had to battle. I had to dig deep. I stayed out, or had 2 tires, and that gave me the lead for a bit. And waited for the 4, and P2 is great, right? I'm blessed to be in P2 for tonight, but I just felt like we had the speed to beat Joseph and Channing, and that speed got dumbed down from the incident. But this Team Z's JCTV broadcast, Chevrolet Silverado was pretty fast until the incident. I'm proud of Joseph. He's my best friend, but just like I said last night, I kind of want to finish ahead of him because he is my best friend and teammate. So, yeah.
Listen, I get it, man. Trust me. I mean, I used to watch all of you guys, from the cockpit of my rig, and I'm like, oh, look, everybody I know and get along with and I'm friends with is doing so much better than me. Listen, at least you're here on the podium, and, here's the deal. It is what it is, and there's always next week. And next week we head to short track racing, which I know is one of your better, bread and butter formats of racing. 250 laps at Richmond. What's that?
This was my one-off race for the year.
You can probably race the short track. You'll be fine.
It was pretty fun being race control and racing today, but I won't be there Sunday because I'm going to be at Richmond for the Cup race, and so you'll see me Monday night from Road America, which we've mentioned that it's my favorite road course. So
Yeah,
tune in
man,
for
listen.
Monday Night NASCAR on Monday.
That's a good plug right there. Always appreciated, because I'll tell you what, for the folks that like watching up what we do here on a Tuesday night, you can always come back on Monday and check us out there. And, of course, Sunday night for SNN Cup Series action right here in SRM. But before we cut you loose, who do you need to thank and shout out?
Well, I say this every time. I give all glory to God because we can't be here without Him. And I'm very thankful to be able to do this. But, shout out to everybody at Money House Racing. We've been actually working pretty hard to, get faster and faster. And we're starting to put up sessions and try to, fine tune our craft. So it's really nice to be able to do that with, some of my buddies. Hopefully next week at Road America and at Richmond, we get another win for the team because we won 2 out of the 3 races this week. So that's a big W for Money House. And so we'll see what happens.
All right, man. Well, listen, congratulations once again for the podium finish, and we will see you next week in race control at Richmond.
Yep. Thanks, Dave.
That, of course, the great Bennett Allen, driver of the number 15. Last but certainly not least here on our interview tour, the faster pastor, Stoney Benfield. Hey, Stoney, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me.
I sure do, Dave.
Another podium finish for the 70 truck tonight. I mean, you had that F-150 in perfect position, and, the cautions just came out at the wrong time. I mean, I think you would have had a better chance trying to win this thing with Gangler behind you, but and it's hard to beat that 1-2 of Lester and Allen, but, man, what a battle.
Yeah, if that caution hadn't come back, 'cause I got a really good jump on that first restart, and my truck really come off the corners well. I don't know that I could have held those guys off, but I think I would have had a better chance had those 2 other cautions had not come out. But hey, I was 5th or 6th when the caution came out before, so I still bettered myself by 2 positions, so it was still the right decision.
Absolutely. I mean, here's the thing. If you wouldn't have tried it, you wouldn't have known. So you're better off having tried it and experienced it anyway.
Yeah, and Zeem's Racing Setup Shop and Ken Zeems and Cody Porter, those guys do such a great job. To be honest with you, I should have loosened this thing up on the lap when I pitted last, and I didn't do it. I made the adjustment, then put it back. I thought it might be too loose, but anyway, if I made a mistake, I think that was the mistake I made, and I think it showed up at the end.
Absolutely. Well, listen, next week we head on down to Richmond. What are you thinking as we go down to, from 2.5 miles in the tricky triangle here in Pennsylvania down to a short track in Virginia?
Oh, man, I'm looking forward to Richmond. That's in my wheelhouse, those short tracks where you really got to take care of your stuff. And, you just really got to get in a rhythm and hit your marks. And we'll have a great setup for Richmond. I look forward to practicing this week in the open setup races on iRacing. And, I'll actually not be here next week. I'm taking a group, or I'm going with a group to the Creation Museum and the Ark Encounter. Yeah, so I'm actually going to miss next week. But anyway, I'll catch everybody the next week. I'll try to get online and watch if I can that night.
I'll tell you what, the Creation Museum is an incredible experience, and I encourage anybody interested or curious to go out there and check it out. That's over in Kentucky, I believe. But what a great experience. Years and years and years ago, I went with a group from church, and it was a really neat experience. So good for you, and enjoy that week off, out of the racing rig. But before we cut you loose, who do you need to thank and tip your cap to tonight?
Well, first of all, Dave, I really want to thank Jesus Christ, man. If you only knew the life change that He's given me, it's just unbelievable. And racing here is an outlet for me, but it's also a ministry for me. Just to, Christians can have fun too, and we can enjoy things. So I thank Him first of all. Then my main sponsor, North Carolina 811.org. I thank Ann Rushing and those folks over there for helping me, and then of course Zeem Setup Shop, and then I say it every time, but man, all these people from our church, they're texting me all through the race, and I can reply sometimes I can't, but I just want to thank them for such support that they give, and Man, I love those guys. They're the best, and we got the greatest church in the world. And if anybody's listening and don't know Christ as their personal Savior, man, repent and believe the gospel. Time's running out, Dave, and this thing's wrapping
It
up.
is.
And yes, it is. And we have got to get people to Jesus Christ as quick as possible. So that's who I would thank tonight. And I thank you, Dave, for a great broadcast. I've watched it all night.
Stoney, as always, I appreciate the time that we get to spend together. I mean, it's not often that you get here on the podium, but I always make sure that I can drop in with you because, I mean, look, this is so much deeper than racing cars. This is about saving souls, and at the end of the day, like I said earlier, a pulpit doesn't have to be a podium on top of a platform. It can be a steering wheel in your hands, and you are absolutely using that as your pulpit, and praise God for that.
Yes, sir, man. And, just lifestyle evangelism. And look, if anybody's listening or anybody in the league that wants to talk about what it means to be a Christian, just have them to private message me and I'll give them my cell phone. We can talk and they can join us online for our church services. Just whatever we can do to help people is what we want to do. But I appreciate you, Dave. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stoney. We will see you in 2 weeks, and of course, have a good vacation. And I'll tell you what, folks, another one in the books here at Pocono Raceway, and just a great way to go out here at the end of our broadcast. Because I'll tell you what, we all take so many things for granted in this world, and the one thing that you can't take for granted is good friends and fellowship amongst ourselves. But before we get out of here, of course, we want to look at the final results from here in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Joseph Lester brings home the checkered flag. He's joined on the podium by his best friend Bennett Allen and the faster pastor Stoney Benfield. Sylvain Jolie and Aaron Mack bring home 4th and 5th positions to round out the top 5. Brandon Minto, Gabriel Lafreniere, Steve Herring, Jeff Carson, and Chris Claude make up the top 10, followed by Dan Morgan, Ron Fitting, Alexander Gangler, who had a late start in the top 2 and top 3, but could not bring home a podium finish for the number 8 machine. The pride of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Joe Stafford finishes in 14th. McAdoo, Pennsylvania's very own John Wilco finishing in 15th. He's followed by Matt Mackin, Rich Jett, and Timothy Cook, as well as Sean Kelly and Jeff O'Rourke to make up our top 20. The best of the rest belongs to Channing Ballou, Tony Burt, Eugenio Alonso, Jeremy Paris, Nicholas Breidenbach, and Matt Metler, who finishes the evening down 67 laps. So a total of 0 laps completed for Mr. Metler, but he had another commitment that he had to run to, and we understand that. So for everybody here at Sim Racing Media, I want to thank you for making us a part of your evening. Of course, as always, we wouldn't be here without you supporting us in everything that we do here on YouTube.com and here on iRacing.com on these servers. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And remember, tomorrow as you go through your day, remember that you're special. You're the only one like you, and that's just fine. Good night, everybody.